Welcome to Semiconductor News Decoded. I'm Ty, with 31 years inside the semiconductor industry, bringing you the real view from the factory floor. Today's topic: India and ASML are deepening their technology partnership in the semiconductor sector. India is taking its first serious steps toward becoming a semiconductor manufacturing nation, and the world's key equipment makers are moving with it. As always, I'll explain everything in the most simplified way possible. Even a middle schooler should be able to follow along. If you're a specialist watching, some parts may feel oversimplified, but I'd like to prioritize giving everyone the big picture first. Think of it as a country building its very first serious bento factory from scratch. So sit back and enjoy. Today's news in one sentence. India is building its first full-scale bento factory. Until now, India has bought bento from other countries. Now it's trying to become a country that can make its own. This news marks the beginning of that first step. To run this bento factory, there is one indispensable machine. The only company in the world that makes it is ASML, based in the Netherlands. Without this machine, the factory cannot operate. The reason India's Prime Minister Modi personally traveled to the Netherlands was to formally build a relationship with the company that makes that machine. What's important here is that India is not trying to make high-end French cuisine bento right from the start. They're beginning with standard lunchbox meals, reliable, proven products. It's a realistic choice. Start with what you can actually sell, without overreaching. A bento factory needs more than just the building. You need ingredient supply routes, skilled workers, and proper kitchen facilities. All of it has to come together for the factory to keep running. One reason Tokyo Electron, TEL, is entering India is to play the role of culinary school teacher in that process. So why are these equipment makers entering India so actively right now? The answer is their biggest customer, China, has become increasingly difficult to work with due to political circumstances. India looks very attractive as the next major customer candidate. Let me summarize the bento factory stance. The single most important question, even staying in the analogy, is this: once the factory is built, will there be customers who keep buying? The factory getting built is looking increasingly likely, but whether steady orders will follow after that is still unclear. That is the core question this news raises. And honestly, my current position on this India-ASML partnership is almost exactly the same as this bento factory story. Here's the background. The trigger was Indian Prime Minister Modi's visit to Europe, where strengthening semiconductor technology cooperation with ASML was a central theme. It may sound like a story about cutting-edge chip factories, but the stage India is targeting is something quite different from that. On the surface, it's diplomacy. Underneath, it is semiconductor industrial policy itself. We need to look at India's current situation accurately. At this point, India has almost no full-scale front-end volume fabrication capacity. In terms of becoming a country with semiconductor fabs, India is standing right at the entrance. The largest project currently underway in India is a joint fab between Tata Electronics, part of India's biggest conglomerate, the Tata Group, and Taiwan's PSMC. The location is Dholera, Gujarat. It's designed to use 300mm wafers and run processes from 28mm to 110mm, targeting mature nodes for PMIC, MCU, analog, and automotive applications, with planned capacity of 50,000 wafers per month. TEL has also signed an MOU with Tata Electronics, covering not just the Dholera fab, but also a back-end facility in Jagi Road, Assam. The agreement goes beyond equipment supply to include workforce training, maintenance support, and infrastructure development. The fact that it addresses both front-end fab and back-end ecosystem building is a positive sign. Here's my view. India's semiconductor strategy strikes me as quite realistic. Choosing to start with mature nodes rather than immediately targeting the cutting edge is the right call. Given the current state of India's industrial capacity, human resources, and ecosystem, this sequencing makes sense. However, a fab getting built and a fab succeeding are entirely different things. Ultra-pure water, specialty gases, chemical materials, equipment maintenance, yield improvement, skilled engineers. All of it has to come together for a fab to keep running. The reason TSMC is as dominant as it is in Taiwan is the enormous concentration of suppliers, talent, and know-how built up around its factories over decades. India is just beginning to build that foundation. The biggest question is, who will actually use this fab? Internal Tata Group demand could provide some baseline, but sustaining 50,000 wafers per month over the long term will require orders from external fabless companies. Major players like Qualcomm and MediaTek will wait to see a stable track record before committing. They won't place large orders with a fab that's just getting started. The probability of the fab getting built is high, but whether it will succeed is unknown. That is my current assessment. Having both ASML and TEL commit early provides a level of support at the launch phase that other countries have struggled to secure. But the real test comes 3 to 5 years from now, when the fab is in continuous operation and we see whether external fabless companies start adopting it. 3 things to watch going forward. First, ramp up progress at the Dolera fab, particularly the speed of yield improvement between 2027 and 2028. Second, whether external fabless companies actually start placing orders. Third, when the domestic supply chain connecting front-end and back-end will be complete. Let me wrap up the overview. India's deepening partnerships with ASML and TEL are a move to build the gateway to becoming a front-end manufacturing nation, and the direction is right. The realistic focus on mature nodes and the genuine involvement of equipment makers, both are to be commended. But the current status is a good start has been made, yet India is still only standing at the entrance. One more point worth adding. This partnership is a win-win for both India and the equipment makers. With the Trump administration tightening export restrictions on equipment shipments to China, India is one of the very few promising new markets for ASML and TEL. India gains access to advanced equipment and support. The equipment makers gain a major new destination for their business. This mutual interest is one of the key reasons this partnership is accelerating. Whether India can establish itself as a semiconductor manufacturing nation will be decided in the 10 years after the factory is built. I'll be watching closely to see whether India can walk that road. That's all for today. I'll keep bringing you semiconductor news and analysis, so if you found this useful, please like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. This has been Ty on Semiconductor News Decoded.